All right, let's dive right into it. We're here to try and make sense of the sudden military conflict between the United States and Iran. After decades of simmering tensions, bombs are now falling. And the big question isn't just what is happening, but why now? And let's be really clear about this from the get-go. This isn't just another headline. The United States has started military strikes inside Iran. This is a huge, dramatic shift in foreign policy, and it's kicking off a brand new and, frankly, pretty unpredictable conflict in the Middle East.
So the first question on everyone's mind, from analysts to regular people, is why? Why now? The official reasons from the administration seem to be shifting, which has everyone scrambling to figure out what the real motivation for this attack is.
You know, this quote from Gregg Carlstrom, who covers the Middle East, really captures that feeling. He says it's like the president is throwing spaghetti at the wall, basically workshopping the reasons for the war after it's already started. The idea here is that this isn't about some grand long-term strategy. It's about being able to declare a quick, historic win over a problem that's been a thorn in the side of presidents for almost half a century.
And when you look past the official story, analysts see this whole whirlwind of other things that could have been the final push. We're talking about everything from political pressure at home, to setbacks in court, to nudges from key allies, and maybe most importantly, the influence of certain media figures who have the president's ear.
And that last point, the media influence, that one's a really big deal. For years, some very prominent voices on TV and radio have been calling for this exact thing to happen. So this decision didn't exactly come out of nowhere. It was kind of the answer to a call for war that's been building for a long, long time. I mean, listen to this quote from Brian Kilmeade right before the strikes began. It says it all. The argument wasn't just about strategy, it was about legacy. He's framing this as a can't-miss historic opportunity, where not acting would look like weakness.
And the case for war was also made in these really stark moral terms. You had commentators like Mark Levin painting this not as some complex geopolitical issue, but as a simple, necessary fight against pure evil, using language like death cult. Well, that turns a complicated situation into a black and white battle of good versus evil.
Okay, so we've got these immediate triggers, right? But to really get what's happening, we need to zoom out a bit and look at the huge ideological shift that's been happening in American foreign policy. At the very heart of this is a concept some are calling cowboy individualism. It's an ideology that really values raw strength over careful negotiation. In this worldview, the goal isn't to find a peaceful solution for everyone. The goal is total dominance. It's about forcing the other side to submit to your will. And when you put it side by side with the way things used to work, wow, the difference is night and day. The whole system built after World War II was based on alliances like NATO, talking things out at the UN, and having shared rules everyone agreed on. This new ideology, it basically challenges all of that, saying, nope, we'll go it alone and use force if we have to.
Want a perfect, concrete example of that shift? Here you go. The United States currently owes the United Nations almost $4 billion in unpaid dues. Now, this isn't just some accounting problem. It's a symbolic rejection of the very organization that was created to stop conflicts like this from happening in the first place.
And then there was this. In a move that left a lot of people scratching their heads, the administration sent the First Lady to chair a meeting of the UN Security Council. That has literally never happened before. It was a crystal clear signal that the old ways of doing diplomacy, they're out the window. Okay, so that's the big idea, the philosophy behind all of this. But what happens when the rubber meets the road? Let's get away from the high-level theory and look at the real-world consequences that are playing out right now.
This was the sales pitch, basically. Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth promised a clean, quick, decisive war. No more stupid rules of engagement, which are the protocols that basically say when and how you can use force. The promise was just a swift victory, no mess, no getting bogged down.
But here's the thing. We're only 3 days in, and that clean, heroic story is already clashing with a very messy reality. We've already lost American military personnel. The intelligence that was used to justify the whole thing is starting to get picked apart. And, to top it all off, American civilians are now trapped in a crisis zone that's getting bigger by the hour. And this has created just absolute chaos for Americans on the ground. The official advice was simple: get out on a commercial flight. The problem? That advice completely ignored the fact that a lot of the airports were already shut down because of the conflict, leaving thousands of people with no way out.
As you can imagine, that chaos has led to some absolutely furious reactions. This message from Representative Ted Lieu to the Secretary of State just sums up the anger over what looks like a total failure to plan for the safety of Americans caught in the middle of this. But maybe the most powerful words come from someone who's actually there. Retired Major General Randy Manor, speaking from the UAE, just laid it out there. He said he and other Americans feel abandoned. And to make it worse, he could see that the UK was already getting its citizens out, which just highlights the devastating human cost of these decisions.
So when you put it all together, the murky motivations, this big ideological change, the chaos on the ground, it brings us to the core of the whole situation. It brings us to one final big question that we're all left with.
And this quote from Representative Jason Crow, who's a former Army Ranger, really gets to the heart of it. He's making the point that when elites talk about war, it's not their kids who are going to fight. It's working-class Americans. And his point is that after decades of war, the American people are just done. They're exhausted by it all.
And that's what it all comes down to. This conflict in Iran isn't just about one country. It's a live test of a brand new, disruptive way of handling foreign policy. And it forces us to ask a really fundamental question. Is this new approach, this ideology of dominance and going it alone, really a better path forward than the system of alliances and diplomacy that, for all its flaws, kept the world from another major global war for nearly a century? That's the question this whole conflict leaves us to answer.